the center of town, and at 9 o'clock this morning, an explosion of unknown origin did this to the building. 168 people died. 19 children were among the dead. More than 500 were injured. Terrorism on an unprecedented scale had invaded the heartland of America. After one of the most intensive manhunts in American history, the FBI arrested and charged 27-year-old Timothy McVeigh with the bomb. He was tried, convicted, sentenced to death, and finally executed in June 2001. Though his life is now over, his crime still raises important questions. Who was Timothy McVeigh? What led him to commit this act of terror? Timothy James McVeigh was born April 23rd, 1968 in Pendleton, New York, a typical American rural town of 5,000 outside Buffalo in western New York State. Pendleton was settled more than 100 years ago by German farmers who said it reminded them of home. Today,
one of my favourite stops each year on tour. It's TPC with the Highlands and the Travellers Championship. So many famous finishes have happened here. Rich, I like this golf course. What are your thoughts?
Pizza.
It's a good golf course.
Very good.
There's no doubt about it.
How much
I think
equity
the players enjoy it because it's not the excessive golf that really
Tim's
stresses you
parents
out.
were
It's
Bill
right there in
and
front of you. I
Mildred
think we're going to see a lot of
They were
golfers out
married
there
in
trying to attack it
1965.
with driver.
Bill, a devout church-going Catholic, worked nights at the
Some
General
of the
Motors
holes
plant
be
and
one of them, but I think
devoted much of his
this
free
golf
time to
course
charity.
really
Mildred,
makes you
known as
to attack
Mickey,
it
worked
to
days
make
in
a
the
lot of
travel
birdies.
agency.
Kevin Streelman
They
made
were
7 in a
rarely
row
at
in his
home
win.
at the same time.
And that's the type of golf course it is.
The
You can
first
get
of
on
Bill
some
and
great
Mildred McVeigh's
rolls
children,
if
a
you're giving
daughter,
yourself the
Patty, was
opportunity.
born in
And it's right there for the
1966.
taking. You just gotta
Tim,
go do it.
born in
And it's also
1968,
the venue
was
of
the
the
second
lowest
child,
round ever
followed by
played on the
Jennifer
PGA
6
Tour.
years later.
58
From
by
the age
Jim
of 6,
Furyk.
Timothy went to
Looking
Stony
forward to today, that's for sure.
with 500 other kids
Time for the
busting
second
from
shot
neighboring
into the
towns.
first.
Him in his neighborhood got to be pretty well known for being kind of an attention getter, an outgoing type kid, and he used to set up haunted houses.
Good looking
He
shot
enjoyed
here. That's
inviting
headed towards the
kids
green.
over to his house to have fun, and they had a pool. They were one of the only families.
Yeah, not a
around
bad
the
effort, that
area
one.
in Pendleton
Up
who had
onto
a
the
pool.
green. But
For
a
young
chance to
Tim,
hold
there
your
was
putt.
more than the pool
An
and good
opportunity to make a
times.
birdie.
There was his introduction to guns, not unusual in rural America. For Timothy McVeigh, guns would become a lifelong passion.
Tim
It's on a great line.
was very close with his
Oh,
grandfather.
what a way to build momentum.
Get in there.
Absolutely love to see those going in early. It sets the tone for the rest of the
His
day.
grandfather purchased
And he
a
finds
gun
himself
for
in a
Tim,
tie for
who,
third.
Can't
started
birdie
as a
them all
rifle
unless you
type
birdie
guy.
the first, Luke.
And
Good
he
start.
gave this gun to Tim as a
To me,
present.
the short
and
par
taught him
4 is the
how to
most
use it.
underrated
Tim
hole in
was
all of golf.
interested in guns. My wife signed his pistol permit, as a matter of fact, and she had no hesitation in doing that. And I know he did have a few
Oh,
guns.
like it came out
During
of
the
a
winter
cannon.
of 1977, Pendleton was hit by a severe blizzard. Tim was 9 years old, and he was worried.
He started storing water in the basement, as his grandfather had. He wanted to store food in the cellar.
Second shot
And
on the
he
second.
wanted to get a generator that they would keep down in the cellar, and this was where Bill McVeigh shut it off. He said, no, we're not buying a generator that we can keep in the cellar. But that's where the initial survivalism in Tim started.
His early interest in
Oh, that's
survival
just
caused him
oh.
to be alone. But
Well,
it didn't
tap this
mean
in
he
for
always
birdie.
kept to himself.
Peach of a shot.
Holds the putt for back-to-back
But he
birdies.
was far from
I like it.
well.
2 in a row.
He would
He's feeling
speak
it.
well. He wasn't
Let's have a
an
look at Bryson
exhibitionist or
DeChambeau's
anything
effort.
like that.
I saw him at our religious ed classes, and he certainly was, one of the kids. Got his share of trouble,
And here we are with the third shot.
but it was never ostracized in any way. He was one of the kids.
By the time Tim was 10, his parents' marriage was in trouble.
standings on the
Bill
leaderboard.
McVeigh continued on the night shift because it paid well, but Mickey was bored.
And after that effort, let's take a look at how it stands.
It seemed to be the time that Mickey's eyes began to wander. And she
Let's
was
see what
unhappy
happens
with her
here
home life.
at the third hole.
Loved her children very deeply and wanted to take care of them. Still had a love for Bill, but not a love for marriage necessarily. There was a lot of men who liked Mickey very much. She was a very beautiful woman.
Mickey started spending time away from home. She frequently left the town for long periods. It was something that affected
Wow,
Tim
that
very
was
deeply.
just
He
right.
asked a friend of his father's if he was the cause of his parents' problems.
He said to this man, why is this happening? Is it something that I have done? Is it me?
Now, intrepid
It was something
on-course
that
reporter,
he began
John
carrying
standing
with him
by.
that caused this maybe outgoing young type of kid to somehow go inside of
This
himself.
is an extremely
And
long
Tim
putt.
stopped
We might
talking
even have
about
to
this
hinge on
family.
this
I
one.
have no idea why she left. I mean,
Looking
she was a
really
pretty girl, and
Well, that was a
she's
beauty.
good
That
with the
had
family
eyes
and
the
Bill
whole
is a
way.
perfect husband.
And
But
that will
again,
take him to one
behind
under.
closed doors, I have no idea what goes on.
When Timothy was 16,
Second
Mickey
shot
left
here
Bill
on the third.
McVeigh and Pendleton for good. She moved to Florida with her daughters. Tim decided to stay with his father.
Looks like
Tim
they go
didn't
with the
seem
kitchen
to
wedge.
change an awful lot because he
Anywhere
was
up on that
fortunate
dance
that
floor would
he
be
went to the same
nice.
school, lived in the same house, had the same friends, and seems to me he was on the track
Oh, that's
to
beautifully judged.
Already had a
pick
few
up pretty
birdies
much the same
today,
schedule
just
day
for
after day.
another.
Dad worked in the same place, and his life didn't change an
About
awful
6
lot.
feet coming up.
Though his two sisters and mother were gone, not much else was different for Timothy McVeigh. High school graduation was on the horizon, and so were the
That's the
profound
birdie.
changes he would experience in the larger world outside Pendleton.
He's currently sitting in second.
In 1984, at the age of 16, Timothy McVeigh became a self-reliant teenager. With his mother and two
TPC
sisters
from the
living in
Highlands certainly
Florida, and
asked
his
for
father
a
was
longer
still
shot
working
range.
nights, he learned to
Danger
be on
here
his
is
own
leaving your
and
tee shot
create
out to
his
the right
own
in the
interests.
trees and the bunker. If you hit it down the left-hand side, expect a much longer second shot.
Computer program that was just
Oh,
very,
good drive.
very,
That
very
one should
involved.
find the
He
fairway.
impressed his teachers to no end with this computer program, communicating through a modem.
As far as
Coming off a string of 3 birdies.
just an intelligence, he was just kind of breaking forth. Just a smart kid.
He was called the Wanderer, this computer system.
It's like
And he
they've
was
got the
pretty well
5
known,
wood.
and people still talk about what he had done
Hey.
today.
Like many teenagers, he collected comic books and listened to rock music. Van Halen and Ozzy Osbourne were two of Tim's favorite groups. He worshipped the film Red Dawn, the story of school kids in Colorado
Oh, that was
resisting
pure.
a Soviet invasion of the
Oh, this is
United
one of those
States.
lengthy
Tim
putts.
constantly read
John, how do you
survivalist
see it?
magazines and
like
kept
about
up
21
his
feet
love
for
of
Why?
guns.
Left to
One
go.
of his good friends, Justin Genter, recalled that Tim actually brought some type of an air rifle type gun to school to show off to the other kids, and remembers Tim saying, "I can stand in this policeman type style, and I can shoot just like a cop would." And he'd shoot off 15 rounds of however many.
This one
he
is for
would
his
do.
par.
And the other kids were like, "Well, that's nice and everything, but that's not the type of thing that we're really interested in."
There was more to Timothy McVeigh than
This
guns
one's
and
online.
computers. Much else of what he did
Good
was
putt
quite
there.
average for a teenager. He became the regular babysitter for Molly and Paul
Just
McDermott,
one off the
his
lead
next
after
door
that.
neighbors.
When Tim came, he played with the kids, and so that was great. And of course, he also
Let's see what happens here
checked
at
the
the fifth.
refrigerator after he left, because he always had a voracious appetite, but stayed skinny as a rail.
He was fun. He was the best babysitter I ever had. Most
Going with the 5
babysitters
wood.
would come in, tell you to be quiet and watch television.
Come on,
go to
Bates.
bed. Tim would come in, find out what we wanted to do that night.
Miles from the hall.
Sometimes he would play with myself and with Jenny if she was over, but a lot of the time he would spend the time with Paul. And he'd
Here's what
bring
Bryson
little
DeChambeau
plastic
managed just a
aliens
short time
over,
ago.
and they would spend hours setting them
Lining
up
up for his
all over
third
the
now.
house. And then they'd have wars, and they would come and they would
I've
sweep
got to
them
say,
all
from
up
that
and take them
spot,
off the
that's
bars.
exactly what they were
Toward
trying
the
to
end
do.
of high school, Tim and his friends sometimes went drinking 30 miles north of Pendleton in Niagara Falls,
Let's
Canada.
get back to it,
But
shall we?
Tim was rarely seen on
Trying
a
to
date.
get it to 4
Other
under with this
kids in
putt.
school remember Tim always calling the beautiful girls up, the prettiest girls, and them always saying no. He never wanted to
It's a
settle. He
lengthy
always
putt
wanted
mark.
the moon, but he was never able to connect with one who had the same interest in him as he did in her.
Tim stayed interested in the church because of his father Bill's
Go in.
strong influence.
Oh, look at that!
And an all-day
putting this well from
But Tim
distance.
Gorgeous putt.
followed the rules in high school, and at first
Let me see that again. Jesus. How long was that?
Attendance record all through high school. And
54, surely.
take that away. And I talked to the superintendent. At
Look
the time,
at
and
that!
he was like,
Oh, 66 feet. Oh, oh,
Though in school, every
Woo!
day Tim's grades were less than
After that
perfect.
hole.
He was a
Beautiful.
good student, getting mostly A's, B's, and an occasional C.
He was not an honor student, but he spent time with the honors
Welcome
kids
to this
because they
hole.
recognized
It's a
that he
par
was as smart as they were. So he was a social, outgoing type guy, but very quiet and introverted when it came to family matters. If you asked him about his family, he may say, yeah, my parents are split, that's it.
After he graduated from Star Point Central in 1986, like many 18-year-olds, Tim was unsure what he would do with his life. Good jobs were not easy to find in upstate Western New York. That summer he worked at a Burger King and registered at a local business college. Like other bright students, he had received a New York State Regent scholarship. It was only for $500, so his father agreed to help pay his tuition.
McVeigh was extremely good with computers, started a computer bulletin board. So he went to college to study computer programming. The academic subjects of your first 2 years in college evidently were rather boring.
Good shot, good
He
shot.
was unable or unwilling to continue the curriculum, dropped out after a semester.
There's no
He
question
saw
that the
an
Travelers
ad for a
Championship has
job
done
as
a
an armored
wonderful
car
job
guard,
in
something
really
that appealed
building
to
their
him.
field, particularly off the back of a
And he
major.
got on his
This golf
19th
course,
birthday,
I've already
he got
told you, I
a
seem to
concealed
like
carry
it.
permit
There's a fun atmosphere
And,
down around those finishing
for an
holes as well.
automatic pistol.
What are your thoughts?
McVeigh was
I
a
think the
good
players
employee.
like it
He
just
showed
because
up to
it
work
does come
on
on the
time
heels.
every day.
Oh, get up there!
His job
Get up there!
seriously.
They can go
But
out.
there were
The
some
golf course
problems.
Ah!
His
It's
continuing
great
fascination with
fan and
firearms led to some
family-friendly
unusual
environment,
incidents,
and that's
like
exactly
his
what the
bringing
Travelers
extra
has.
heavy
They've
weapons
really
to
done
work.
a great
He came
job
in a
with
few
this tournament
times with,
to make the
shotgun
players feel
shells,
welcome, to help with the
at least
accommodations,
25
to
of
make
them.
their task
With a
getting
shotgun.
from the major championship to here
Just
so
like,
much easier.
Rambo.
So these players
Rambo.
coming in here, they can kind of
Came to
kick
work
back
one
a
day as
little
a
bit
joke to a
and not have
supervisor
the stresses,
with
I think,
bandoliers
of a
of
normal
12
tournament,
gauge
even though
shotgun
they're still
shells
playing for
around
big
himself,
money,
as well
points
as a
galore. They all
12
here
gauge
to
pump
compete. They're
shotgun
all
with a
here to
pistol
win.
grip.
The supervisor didn't like the joke
They
at
do
all.
have a little bit of catching up on some
He
mental
would sometimes
fatigue
get very
and physical
angry on the
fatigue
armor
from the week
for
prior.
no
And the
apparent
golf
reason. He
course
would
is
just
really
fly
set
into
up
a
for an
rage.
exciting
The
finish. That
coworkers
driver
indicated that this
will
rage
the
was
gorgeous par three
incredible. He
across the
would get
water,
red in the
17
face and
with
be
a fair bit of water around it as well.
He was
It has
angry
been their
one
side,
night
the
and he
sort
was
of
winning
come
the next
from
night.
behind victories or flashy finishes.
And
Kevin Streelman comes
that's
to mind
where
right
he
after he gets
was.
7 straight
Whether
birdies
it
to
was
finish it out in
frustration
his
at
win.
work or
But
pent
yes,
up
the
rage
back
over
nine
his
here,
parents' divorce, it is
has a little bit of
unknown
a
why
Augusta
Tim
type
angered so quickly.
stretch it. The front nine,
But
there's
he never
not a whole lot
confronted
of
anybody,
really
nor did
great
he ever
birdie
look for any
opportunities.
revenge
But
in
you
any
get to the back
relationships
nine, and all of
with
a
people
sudden,
that we can determine.
tens to get over there.
When Tim was almost 20, he wanted an
13,
isolated
and you can keep on
site to
going.
shoot his
There's
guns.
a lot of
With a
really
close
good
friend,
birdie
he bought
opportunities.
10
That's
acres
what
of
makes this
land
finish here
near
so good.
Oley in New York, 90 miles from
From about
Pendleton.
130
Never
yards
interested in
here.
hunting, Timothy enjoyed firing at targets.
The idea of going out shooting a deer and bringing it home and gutting it wasn't really
Has
for
got this
Tim.
thing
That's
dialed
kind of
in
disgusting
here,
for him. He
looking
had more
good.
of a
Oh,
idea
lovely
to his
shot.
white friends.
A
He
wonderful
collected
shot.
them for
Beautiful
For
their
birdie here at the 7.
monetary value.
Luke, nothing gets
Timothy
past
did
you.
not
Yes,
see his
this
future
kid
in
is a
security,
stud.
and the chance of a good job
Just
with a
6 feet
future in
between me
Pendleton
and the hole.
did not exist. One night, Tim was listening to his father and some friends talking.
Mark it down. That's 6
There's really
birdies
nothing
today.
for you.
And that will move you to 6 under par. And
Run.
maintaining
That
top
very
spot on
serious.
the
He
leaderboard.
told his
After
father,
that,
Dad,
The lead
I'm joining
is
the
getting
Army. His
bigger
father said
and
when.
bigger.
His son told him tomorrow. It
and
was a
after birdie
surprise
the
to
last,
everybody in Mr.
take
McVeigh's
it on the hole.
hometown.
On May 30th, 1988, 6 days after enlisting, Tim was in Fort Benning, Georgia to start basic training. On the same day, a farmer
Going to the
named
hybrid.
Terry Nichols arrived from
oh,
Michigan
look at
and was
this.
placed in
Right down the
McVeigh's unit.
throat.
Nichols was 12 years older than Tim. They became
Stop.
fast friends, and their
Stop.
paths would cross many times over the next 7 years.
That's well played.
Immediately,
Anything on the
Timothy
green from
McVeigh
there was
found a
fine.
home in the Army.
He was a
There's
perfect
been
soldier.
action of plenty
He
all
was
over the
very
course.
dedicated.
Let's head to the ninth for this incredible shot. And this effort by Gary Woodham was just a little while ago.
Beyond everybody else, he was pretty young to be a sergeant. He was one of the first guys to get promoted in the
Oh,
unit
that's
to
lovely,
sergeant.
folks. The hands of a surgeon.
Not many people have a problem with
And
that
back to the
because
course with the
we all
live
think he
action.
pretty much earned it.
He was
Never
somebody
seen a
who
scorecard that
read
doesn't look good with a 2 on it.
manuals on tanks and guns and weapons from front to back constantly.
Just a real soldier, so to speak, during that period. But very quiet, somewhat introverted. He
Come on.
didn't have a whole lot of
Ooh.
friends. He would go out drinking and partying and trying to have a good
60
time.
remaining to the
He
cup.
never was a part of that.
When soldiers in his unit drank too much in nearby Junction City, McVeigh would drive
Starts off
them
on a
from
good
the
line.
bar to the barracks.
Oh, wonderful effort. Confirms
I
the
never
par.
saw him spit a minute home. He would run
Now,
guys
current
in the
leader
unit,
is up by
you know,
3
maybe
shots.
$15 in 1 week, and next week after payday, you'd have to pay him 20 or 25.
Here we find
And
ourselves
it
on
was a
the tee of a
straight-up
par
deal.
4.
People knew if you went to him, that he's going to loan you a certain amount of money, but he expected something in return.
More importantly, as a soldier and their sergeant, his men trusted him.
He was the type of person who, if you were in a hole with somebody, you would want to be there with Tim, because you could bet that Tim was going to be the person
we should
who
find
would
the short
come out
grass.
alive. And you just might
Beautiful
feel if you were
shot.
along with him.
He is a self-described survivalist.
Oh,
He,
brilliant.
talked about a certain shelter or a bunker and
Time to take their approach shot
weapons
into
in
the
there and
night.
guns in there, a place to go in case perhaps the apocalypse hit or something like that. That he would have a place to go and survive.
He would be the type
Oh,
of person,
man.
This is some ball striking.
and
Oh,
he
Rules and
would
regulations.
Oh, that was-
It's a beauty.
about how possibly one day
Let's take a look at this shot
America
from
was going
moments
to take the
ago.
right to own arms away from people.
And what about this from Billy Horschel? Right out of the top drawer.
He was afraid to
Second
the
shot
government
here.
take his guns away, may infringe upon his rights to gun own. He had a distrust. of
That
the
one was
government
definitely worth
at
another
that
look.
time.
Outstanding.
I never
Let's
sensed
return to
in any
live
way
play
at that
now.
time that he had a hatred for the
Coming up,
government at
this
all.
for
During
Billy.
his stay at Fort Riley,
He's making
Kansas,
this look
McVeigh had
easy.
been
Keeps
selected to
surging
try out
ahead.
for the Special
And with
Forces.
that,
The
he'll move to
exclusive
7
Green
under.
Berets,
Incredible.
his dream assignment in the
Here we go,
military.
Rich. The back
And
nine on
trained
Sunday.
extensively
What are your
for it,
thoughts so
doing
far?
hundreds of push-ups
I gotta
and
say,
hundreds
every
of sit-ups
facet of this
every
player's
day,
game was in
carrying
great
100
shape
pounds
today.
a year,
Lots of
14,
golf yet to
15
be played.
miles a
Looking
day
forward to watching
get
it.
himself in the physical condition for the course. The Gulf War changed that for him.
Sergeant Timothy McVeigh was an expert gunner on a Bradley fighting machine. He and
Looks
his
like they put a
unit,
good
parts
swing
of
on
the
that
1st
one.
Infantry
That should
Division,
find the
the
short
big
stuff.
Red One, were sent to
Oh,
the
this should
Gulf
be
and
unpredictable.
were in place ready for war by January 1991. McVeigh, now at 22, would get his
Wait,
first
big
taste
shot.
of combat,
About 130
his first
yards
kill,
out.
his first medals, and a deeper distrust of his government. Timothy
Managed to
McVeigh
find
was
the
only
service.
22 when in January 1991 he arrived in Saudi Arabia.
Lovely shot,
ready to
lovely
fight for
shot.
his
So
country.
birdie here on the
He
10th.
was a gunner on a birdie
Absolutely.
plane.
In there
And
close.
the leader
Good
of this
looking birdie
platoon.
coming up.
And he was well known for being an excellent shot already.
He was cleaning his weapon a lot. He always made sure that his weapon was
Looks
ready
good
to
off the
fire.
blade.
During the weeks that his
And
unit
that's
waited
8
for the war
birdies
to start,
today.
McVeigh and his men
2 in a
were
row.
up every morning at 4:30. The days in the
Now, 5
trenches
shots
were
up after that
hot,
hole.
the nights cold and long.
We would stay in those trenches until light came, made coffee, and build a fire.
Let's see what happens
sit
here
around
at the
and-
11th hole.
and drink it, and that was it until the sun came out, and we would basically watch over that desert, see if anything came, and we did that every day up until
with
the
the
ground
9-iron,
was
I think.
started.
Well, that's comfortably on the dance floor. Well played.
After sitting on the border of Kuwait for
Shot.
almost 6
Up on the
weeks,
dance floor.
once the ground
Could have
war
been
finally
worse.
started, McVeigh's unit was quickly in the
Here's
thick
some
of the
action
action.
from just a short time
McVeigh had
ago.
been trained to
Here's a
kill
great
on
shot
sight
from our
and
player Company
wasted
in
no
second.
time pulling the trigger.
And in she
The vehicle
goes.
that he was on, he took a shot at one man, shooting low and standing in the desert, and actually blew the guy's head right off. Now,
Okay, let's
he
get
was
back to the action.
screaming and yelling when he did this.
The birdie
He
putt
told
here.
us that he had
Good
shot
stuff
Iraqi
today,
soldiers
especially the short
dead off
game
in
has
approximately
been
1,000
really
meters,
sharp
I
today.
think, and that he was somewhat bragging about that.
It's got a chance.
Yes.
The desert
Up
fighting
drop.
continued.
And he'll extend
McVeigh
his
and
lead.
his unit pushed forward when they found Iraqi soldiers.
Now at -9 for the day.
They basically gave a few warning shots telling these soldiers to come out of hiding.
Teeing off here
And,
on the 12th hole.
some did, some didn't, and those who didn't were buried alive. by the unit that he was with.
McVeigh's unit took over 650 ground casualties the first day that they went across the Iraqi border. They incurred a great deal of death and destruction.
Actually seeing people die in the killing fields because of what he was doing was something that affected him very deeply. It was not what he had originally imagined would be service for the U.S. Army.
Sergeant Timothy McVeigh was awarded the Bronze Star for valor and the Combat Infantry Badge for his part in the
Great
fighting.
opportunity, a great look for
When
long
the war
range.
ended, his unit was part of the security force assigned to guard General Norman Schwarzkopf in Saudi Arabia. Suddenly, he was told to return to the United States. His long-desired
for the
wish to
second
try
shot
out for the
at the
Special
12th.
Forces, his revered Green Berets, had finally become a reality.
He was getting everything ready. He was happy. He was excited. He was moving, because he was going to the Special Forces.
McVeigh got on a troop transport, went home on a
Get up there.
for about a week.
After arriving in Fort Riley, Kansas, McVeigh's
the
first
fight.
stop was his favorite restaurant.
Scorecard
The
filled
Rock
with threes
House
never
Tavern.
hurts. Good putt
He
to
still
make
had
this.
his clothes he wore from Saudi, he still had, in fact, he still had sand on him. And he told me, he said, I just got off the plane, and he said, all I could think about was your food, your breakfast and your burgers. And he said he'd help me make it through that over there.
1 week later, Sergeant Timothy McVeigh was at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, undergoing the strenuous Special Forces training. But he was not as soldier as he had been before the war
And with
in the
that,
Gulf.
you can go and put a par on the
After
card.
living in the desert for 4
And
months,
after that
he
effort,
was
this is how the
physically
field is
drained,
shaping up.
particularly the desert conditions.
Our
His
leader is
equipment
out
was
in
wore
front by a
out.
whopping
The
5
test was
strokes.
for him to carry a 45-pound
We have a par 5 on
sack
this one.
with him on a long journey. He was wearing new boots. His ankles were aching. His body and mind were physically out of shape.
His feet were blistered. His ankle was sprained.
At that point, McVeigh knew he could not pass the physically grueling Special Forces tests. It was the most devastating thing that had ever happened to him.
And he sent a written notice to the camp supervisor, a voluntary statement of withdrawal. It reads, I am not physically ready.
It was his
Yeah,
first
give yourself a pat on the back.
failure in
Ooh.
the military, and
Second shot
his
here
buddies
on
saw
the 13th.
really an altered McVeigh. When he returned from that experience, he was somebody who had succeeded in everything in the military before. Now he
Opting
had
for the
failed,
5-wood.
and he seemed somewhat embittered.
Get
and
up,
sour.
come on, bait.
After washing out of the Green Berets, McVeigh returned
Ah,
to his military
God.
base in Fort Riley, Kansas. He was
Gee.
restless and moved off base,
Getting ready
but
to
could
play
not
this
settle
good.
in any one place for long. He read and reread the Turner Diaries, a book he discovered in survivalist magazines.
Awesome, you
Turner
chump.
Diaries is this novel
Good birdie
about
here.
race war in America that was
Putt drops. We're moving on.
Nice.
Basically take over the country, take blacks and Jews and people.
This is quality play, still on top of the leaderboard.
It's really apocalyptic.
Let's see what happens here at the 14th.
Loved it.
He became more and more angry with the government and thought that this fictional book could somehow become a reality, some type of Orwellian prediction. And he read this book more and more often.
McVeigh carefully read the newspapers and became angry over what he considered unwarranted arrests, many gun and drug related, that were made by the federal government.
He was someone who increasingly read and spent time with conspiracy-oriented, right-wing type books.
That's time.
McVeigh still collected guns,
Playing
and he
this
would sit
one
in his
from around
room and clean them
120
in his
yards
spare
down.
time. He was becoming more of a loner every day. Then, to the surprise of everyone,
Going with the
on
7.
December 31st, 1991,
Keep your
he
fingers
took an
crossed for a
early
bounce to the
discharge
right.
from the Army and went home. Many were puzzled by his decision to abandon what had appeared to be a
He's
promising
safely in the
career.
green with that shot.
By all accounts,
Made
he went
birdie
back
on the
home
last.
as a 23-year-old war
Looking
hero
for a
and led a
second in a row
fairly
here.
normal and ordinary life. Got a full-time job,
Hey, nice
dated a
looking
couple
line.
girls up there, and
Nice.
worked as a
Nice to hold on
supervisor of a
for a
security company.
2 in a row there, Luke.
Stayed
Getting
in
their groove
Rockport
on.
for a while. He wrote a couple letters to the Union Sun and Journal, the local newspaper,
Let's have a look at Billy
detailing
Horschel.
how unhappy he was with with certain government laws, certain practices he had seen.
He's a sharpshooter from short range, isn't
About a
he?
year after getting back, he just started to
Oh, that's the
drift.
shot.
He
Go ahead and
wanted to
make
go
one.
out
Don't worry about
west.
getting it up and
He
down.
was drawn to the desert from the Desert War experience.
So the teenager who called himself the Wanderer on his
So
computer
with another hole
became
behind
a
us,
drifter.
let's take a look at the
Never staying in one place long
Our
enough to
leader
put
is up
down
by a
roots.
whopping 6
He would
shots
link
now.
up with his old army buddy Terry Nichols, steeping himself in
Well, Rich, as we
anti-government
approach the
philosophy,
closing holes here at
visiting
TPC
gun
River
shows,
Highlands,
and
there are some
flirting with the
significant
newly
shots to hit.
emerging
Hit 15,
Everything
and certainly was
on a journey.
Tee shot is most definitely an important shot. If you hit a little bit too far left, you wander
In the winter of
scary close to the
1993,
left-hand side.
24-year-old
Out to the
Timothy
right
McVeigh
is no
left
good.
the isolation
Ah,
of
too hard.
New York.
Nearly as
He
important
headed
as how
west,
straight you can drive
eventually
it.
moving to
Well,
Kingman,
Way too
Arizona.
hard.
Short par four.
Although he was unable to stay in one place for long, he never forgot his years of training in the Army.
Stop.
Tim basically became a lost soldier. He was somebody who
Oh.
I love seeing
Just
stuff
stop
like
biting me.
Oh, how
lived
about that
by
shot?
a soldier's
Taking out the
rules,
big stick and
still
going
dressed
ahead
as
and
if he was
knocking her
from
on.
the
Love it.
military, maintained his military haircut.
McVeigh visited Michael Fortier, an Army friend from Fort Riley.
Bloody hell.
Fortier, who was already in Kingman, an Army buddy of his, seemed to have had connections with some remnants of a group called the Arizona Patriots, which was a right-wing paramilitary group.
He was staying with the
Right by the
Fortiers,
hole.
and they were calling
Yeah.
him
It's just about 3 feet away.
Jakey Soup Cans.
And he just keeps putting a gap on the rest of the field. What a putt to
the
hold.
floor of their trailer home.
Leading by a whopping 7 shots after that one.
In Kingman, McVeigh found part-time work, once again in security, and rented a home in the Canyon West
The
trailer
final par
park.
3 at
It was
TPC River
excellent,
Highlands
and
certainly brings a lot of
reclaimed the
elements
trailers,
into
but
play.
he went in and
Multiple
reclaimed it.
tiers on this
He,
green. If you find the right
washed
tier, you have a
curtains
good
and
birdie
accidentally
opportunity.
ruined them.
But if you hit a
So,
wayward shot, both right, left,
I told him
long,
I'd have to
or
take that
let's
out of
face
his
it,
deposit.
short, you're in a
And,
bad
he said, oh,
spot.
that's fine, no problem. He generally had money. Ever since he was in junior high school, Tim was very frugal. He always saved his money. And
Come on,
always tried
Dave.
This would be handy if you
keep
could bounce
a
right.
good stash of money set aside, just like he would set aside food, just in case something happened. He had
Not a bad approach that one, up onto the green. Couple of
corners
putts
of
from
the
there,
wall.
and
He
that'll be
didn't
a
have a
pretty
gun
good
case,
hole.
so he had his guns
Well, this will be
laying
good
up
for the
against
momentum.
the
Let's
walls
make this
and,
birdie putt.
two or three in several corners in the house.
McVeigh spent much of his free time at gun shows around the country.
He lived a fairly...
Get in! Get in! Beauty!
And just put on a sleeping
Beautiful
bag
putt.
as opposed to get a hotel room.
McVeigh continued to drift through the middle of America,
Let's have a look at this
increasingly
highlight.
convinced of a
Let's take a look at
conspiracy
Gary
at the
Woodland from
highest
earlier.
level of the federal government to deny
This is
so-called
his third.
patriots such as himself their Second Amendment right to bear arms. McVeigh found further proof of a government out of control in the August 1992
Good stuff on
standoff
that putt.
between federal agents and white supremacist
Let's
Randy
take a
Weaver
look at
in
the lead.
Ruby Ridge, Idaho,
Our
when
current leader
FBI
is enjoying an
sharpshooters
8-stroke
killed Weaver's
advantage.
wife and son.
Randy Weaver became a hero to people because his home had been
Well, this lake
in their view
is a real
invaded
feature here in the
by
closing
agents
holes at TPC
who
River
wanted
Highlands.
to take
Comes
his
into play
guns
also
and
off the
arrest him.
10-17.
McVeigh
The most
also
intimidating shot
openly
on
supported
the golf
Branch
course, the tee
Davidian,
shot
when
here at
federal agents
17.
surrounded their
Bail
compound
left,
in
you could
Waco,
find the
Texas.
bunkers, and if you
There are
bail
some
right,
photographs
you
of
better bring your
David
waders.
McVeigh in March of 1993, standing
Oh,
outside
stop!
of the Branch Davidian compound, protesting the
Water.
presence of federal law
Coming off a
enforcement
string
and
of 4
military
birdies.
On April 19, 1993, federal agents stormed the Branch Davidian compound. When the smoke cleared, 86 men, women, and children were dead. That action by federal agents against what McVeigh considered innocent people confirmed his greatest fears and
Get up there.
apocalyptic fantasies. A paranoia
No
stoked by
banks.
inflammatory rhetoric
Where's
that
the
fills
banks?
us
No
Red
foul
Dawn
there with that
and
shot.
novels like The Turner
16
Diary.
feet to the cup.
Davidian compound caught fire. Tim watched it and basically began crying and screaming at the television about what was going on. The raids
Ouch,
that had
that
been
hurts.
in
That does
the
hurt.
Turner Diaries, which
Just 3 feet to
The
the
Turner
cup.
Diaries had become McVeigh's...
What the fuck?
When not selling the book at half price, he gave
Oh,
copies away at gun
God's
shows.
sake!
In your book, if I recall correctly,
This
on
next
page
putt
38
is for bogey.
describes in great detail how shortly after 9 o'clock
Job
in the
done.
morning the
Let's head to
hero
the
of the
next.
book with some friends
Bastard!
put together a truck bomb with approximately 5,000 pounds
There's
of
no movement on the
fertilizer.
leaderboard after that.
Annoying!
And blow up. In this case, the federal building was the FBI office.
The
in
finishing hole at
Washington.
TPC River Highlands has gone through a few adjustments over the last handful of years, and
In
it's also
November
seen a very
1993, the
significant
Brady
moment
Bill
in
was
the history
passed,
of the PGA
requiring a
Tour.
waiting
Plenty
period
of
for the purchase
fantastic
of all
moments here. Tee
handguns.
shot goes back
For
up
many
the
of the
hill,
political
over a rise,
friends, this was the
semi-blind tee shot,
watershed event
find the
and the
fairway.
cause
You
of
have
a
an
new wave
excellent
of
look
panic.
at the green and a
Owning a gun
possibility
was
of
a
making
symbol
birdie.
of liberty.
It was the
Once
site
Oh,
of the
piss
first
off.
round
to
recorded.
curtail those
Fuck's
rights,
sake.
PGA Tour of
what would be
58, if you
next?
don't mind.
So all those issues
Now man on the ground,
combined
John
to
McCarthy.
really,
What's this load look like, mate?
started in the beginning of 1994, and there were also issues that
Pretty good.
Down.
his own life seemed to resonate
Come on,
with
down.
the reasons.
In the first
Get in!
McVay continued what appeared to be his
Oh,
18th straight.
God, that was so close.
Of all the shots that I like the most, that one ranks right up there.
Look at this.
He attended a few meetings of the newly formed Michigan militia.
What an
and
approach.
perhaps other militias as well.
Mr. McVeigh, first of all, denies that he ever went to any militia meetings.
Oh, man.
He basically indicated that he was not really particularly impressed with most of the militia organizers that he personally had seen on the gun show circuit or been familiar with their literature. There is no evidence that Mr. McVeigh joined any militias or, for that matter, any
Like to
other
look at this.
extremist groups.
Round now in the books. Good luck next time.
Good round.
Lovely start to the opening
In
round.
March 1994, McVay went underground and dropped out of sight.
Yes, look, it's a
Though he never
very
stayed
strange
in one
position
place
to
for
be in.
long, he
Because
was
you feel like
occasionally
it's yours
spotted at
to
gun
lose,
shows in Nevada
but
and
it's also
Kansas,
yours to
and
win.
frequently
Which way are
visited
you
Terry
looking
Nichols
at?
in
Hopefully
Decker,
you're
Michigan.
thinking, it's mine to win,
In
and I'm
September
gonna
and
grab
October 1994, authorities
Well,
say
on
that
behalf of
McVay and
myself,
Terry
Rich
Nichols
Beam,
bought
and all the
large
hard-working
quantities of
folks at
ammonium
HB
nitrate,
Studios.
an
Thanks for
essential
tuning in.
ingredient
We'll
for
see you then.
making homemade bombs. The two men traveled over the back roads and small towns of the Corn Belt until April 14, 1995, when McVay moved to the Dreamland Motel in Junction City, Kansas.
They've been on the run since busting out of a maximum security prison.
They decided that was an escape or die trying. What else do they have to lose?
They killed a police officer in a very brutal fashion.
2K Sports, in association with the PGA Tour, is proud to bring you the season-long race for the FedEx Cup. We're at the Travelers Championship. Today's coverage is about to start. Delighted to have your company for this final round action. It's a pivotal day coming up for this player on the team. I'm Luke Elvey. Great to have Rich Beam alongside me. And Rich, what do you think of their chances?
Should be a lot of nerves. They got the lead. They've been sleeping in it overnight. That is never an easy thing to do. Almost an uncomfortable situation at times, but they are playing well, so they have that confidence going into the final round. But this is going to be a tough afternoon.
Well, it's all promising to be a good day. Can't wait to see what happens.
I had received too much time, which was 18 life sentences for the multiple robberies I committed back then.
And let's see what he can do here today.
270 calendar years before my legend was paroled. I looked at myself in the mirror and realized I'm really going to die alone in prison.
Like that, didn't you? This player's certainly finding this spot a couple of times this week.
Same spot as yesterday. Will they have the same results today?
When I made up my mind, I just opened my eyes to my environment in a way that I was ignoring for
Might
years.
not cut too many.
Watching the strengths and weaknesses of the whole unit.
Got yourself an opportunity. Be nice to see this one go down. Let's see if they make it.
To get out of there, and it's our responsibility to keep them in. There are 3 perimeter pickets that have the armed officers. The
This is a
range
good
around
chance.
is about 12 foot.
What a start.
In
This
addition
is
to that,
impressive.
you have riding patrol
Settles the
vehicle.
nerves right there. Great stuff.
Well, Rich, that's got to feel good. Opening the first with an underpass score. And I don't know if the rest of the field is up for catching them here today in this final round of action.
For some reason,
Lovely momentum for this player after that birdie the last hole.
This
Keep
guy
it
here
rolling.
would be.
This
you know,
hole
he'd be a big
is
part
so
of my life
important at
someday.
this critical time. Go for it, lay it back. How much do you trust your swing?
That looks to be a fairway finder to me. Time for the second shot. Here on the second hole.
I don't think I was actually thinking about escape at that time, but he was smooth, he was collected. He could tell you a pink pig.
Dang. Nice.
Nicely done.
I just think I do just decided how was the best way to do it.
Let's have a look at Bryson DeChambeau.
Digging under the ground. And all the
Right, John.
How's
his putt looking?
His putt's looking right around 28 feet, I'd say.
The common unit has approximately
Oh,
28
God, something up.
offenders. There's a little over 500 correctional officers. You would only have a fifth of that staff.
Let's
there
get back to it, shall we?
in town.
3 feet to go here to the hole.
They're greatly outnumbered.
Some momentum being built now. That's back-to-back birdies.
Back-to-back birdies, moving the right direction there, Nate.
Currently 15 under par for the event. And I don't give the rest of the field much hope today. Our leader is way out in front in this final round. Teeing off here at the third hole.
Our plan was using force to take over the maintenance shop.
Most important thing is the people I selected. And I spent a short while conversing with
That's a good-looking shot there.
I needed men who were following orders.
Oh, this is on a fantastic line. Is it the right distance?
Lucky is going to be playing the last
Oh, terrific approach. And a chance for birdie here at the third. A good opportunity here, just 6 feet to the hole.
Now we all take over the maintenance shop. After that, we divide up into 2 groups. The first group is myself, Harper.
And another one goes. And with it, an increase of his
We're
lead.
going to secure
Gotta say, putting this well from this distance is a huge confidence booster.
Rodriguez,
He sits in first position.
Garcia.
The play so far has been stellar, increasing the lead loop, but can they maintain it? Let's find out.
So that was our plan. Objective 1, seize the maintenance shop.
Absolutely tattooed that one.
Take over the guardhouse and tower. Once we had control of the tower, we could open the back gate and drive to freedom.
Well, I like the way this person's playing. Birdies all over that scorecard.
Always a good way to start and see where they go from here.
To take over the whole maintenance shop.
Going with the 6-iron here.
as long as we took the whole
Look
thing over
after us.
at
Little
lunchtime.
bounce to the right here.
And then proceeded to take or subdue and have the officer then return.
Yes, anytime you can find the green and have a putt, you'll take it.
We established hiding spots for materials.
John, what's going on out there?
We practiced tape plans.
So make sure you know what you gotta
A
do.
long-range putt coming up here. Be good to make a bomb, wouldn't it?
Jesus, thank you for this food we're about to
And
have.
down she goes. The long-range bomb. That's a good way to move into the top 10.
Please give us strength.
Pray together.
Let's return to live play now.
So that tomorrow we'll
Always love these opportunities, especially when it's for birdie.
We even kept our spirituality in this. God was the main focal point. We actually believed that God was helping us through this, and He was going to give us this.
Yay! Yes!
Birdie of the day.
That sets a positive tone for the player, doesn't it?
Still in the lead now after that hole. And I don't know if the rest of the field is up for catching them here today in this final round of action. Ooh, we're at the par 3 here. I love these holes.
And try to get all sleep out good that night. On and off. It's just nervous. I keep waking up, and of course, I had to escape on my mind. And just continued throughout the night.
Looks like they've got the 5-wood.
Get up there.
I felt at peace. I got enough sleep. I was resting. This is gonna happen. We have to do it.
5:36 in the morning. Got up.
Time to recap Bryson DeChambeau's effort from just a little while ago.
Today we were late.
When they call breakfast time, I gotta get ready. But I didn't have breakfast. I felt like I needed time. We were waiting for that 11 o'clock hour where it was time to go to lunch and just biding our time.
This will be a great up and down. Go ahead and make it.
Caught in the headlights. Their eyes are all huge. I bet in mine were too.
Move it.
We'll stay behind and seal the floor in the machine room.
It's on a good line.
One way or the other's going to be over
Like
that
this
day.
one. It's for par.
It's hard to explain really, but I was going to escape or die trying.
Low hold.
Gotta say, putting this well from this distance is a huge confidence booster.
And after that performance, they'll stay right where they are in the standings. And I don't give the rest of the field much hope today. Our leader is way out in front in this final round.
Will you see me lay hands on the first officer? There's no turning back. It was all or nothing at that point forward.
It's a big man. They have trouble with them.
Nice.
Pretty good shot there.
I tell you what, there's been some great golf being played all over the course. Let's have a look at this. Matt Kuchar with a fantastic shot. This was his second. After initially struggling coming onto tour after a prodigious amateur career, Matt Kuchar's found his real niche, hasn't he? He knows what to do with his golf swing and gets the most out of it.
You know, he's been so impressive. Once he got back on tour after the struggles early in his career,
It's just
he was a changed man, changed golf swing, changed attitude.
Get up there.
And all of a sudden, he's just printing money.
Oh, terrible bounce. Jesus.
Hasn't gotten
Oh,
injuries that I think
bloody
he
hell.
deserved or earned, with some late play, most notably Jordan Spieth snatching the Open Championship title away from him a few years back. But time and time again, he's so resilient. Back in the winner's circle once again in 2019. He's just a unique player that figures out a way to get it done week in and week out, come out of the bench.
Mark it down, that's birdie number 5. He's currently sitting in first place. And I don't know if the rest of the field is up for catching them here today in this final round of action. Pretty sure this player will be buoyed by that birdie back at the last. Let's see if they can deliver another one.
Different ways.
There are a couple instances that could have easily lost control of the situation.
This one looks to be heading down the runway.
Rivas.
This shot was about 140 yards out.
They went on for a long time. We were fighting for maybe more than that.
Want to see the family again, man? You just keep cool.
Choosing the 9-iron here. I like that strike. This one's heading well towards the green.
Oh, lovely shot.
Wow,
Once
what
they
a shot.
took control,
Birdie at the
they were able
last.
to get to the
This
key to
for
get to the
another.
sensitive tools. Hacksaw
Pretty
blade,
straightforward
cut
4-footer
doors,
coming in.
like that could be used to facilitate an escape.
I told Rodriguez.
Got a chance. Gee, that's good play. 6 birdies in a round.
I like it. 2 in a row.
Managing to maintain their position on the leaderboard after that effort. And I don't give the rest of the field much hope today. Our leader is way out in front in this final round.
The secret compartment.
I got everything worked out.
Well, everyone, I was preparing the truck. Michael Rodriguez was assigned to keep an eye on the men that we had stuff in the closet. And
Yeah, looks safe shot this one.
Down.
That should find the surface. Got a bad approach that one. Quite inside the birdie range, but you never know. Oh, a long one. Still counts. This one's for birdie.
Hurry up, man. Come on, man. They're pushing it.
We were able to open the door. The captured put their backs into the door and refused us entry.
Oh, so close. Putting for par.
When the fire alarm signal went off, the employee had called out
Tracking.
maintenance.
Well done. And maintaining top spot on the leaderboard after that. And I don't know if the rest of the field is up for catching them here today in this final round of action. Teeing off here at the 9th hole.
This could be the point where everything fails.
A lot of those fire alarms go off where there's too much dust collected in the sensor and things like that. That employee gets used to finding
Looks
out
like
that
a
it's not
similar
really a
approach to
fire.
yesterday.
Same spot as yesterday, looking for the same result today.
And silencing the alarm.
So they believed it. But I
Shot
think we
there.
can believe. We can only do that for so
John,
long.
you got a read on this one?
Just took down the whole
He's got
movement
about
shot
21
one.
feet to the hole from here, guys.
Objective number 1 is complete. Objective number 2, take over the back gatehouse and tower.
They're called the back gate. And the back
Just
gate.
missed.
Identify myself as a maintenance
That's a
supervisor.
par putt.
Until
I'm gonna say
Okay, let's head to the next.
a couple of inmates. Okay.
Lovely position for our leader here, Rich. Out in front, but a few holes to go.
I absolutely dream of being in this position, ahead by a bunch with just a few holes to go. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the view.
Now we're working on a timetable. You need to get control of the guard tower before any
Thinking
time of
beauty.
inspection coming back here for this. Newberry and I loaded tools and things like this into this gator, and then Rivas drove us to that gate.
Second shot here at the 10th.
Newberry and I were unloading the tools and the material like we were really fixing to do some work here.
This one's going right at the pin here.
Afternoon.
Oh, what a shot. You'll take that.
Nice.
Getting yet another green here in regulation.
Well, the practice is paying off here, Luke. This player is relentless.
We're in the bunker. Will Chase get up and down?
After a few minutes, Reed said, you know, hey,
Someone need to get up into the tower. Yeah?
Takes great skill.
That's great.
Lovely shot out of
Have
the
yourself a
center.
good one.
yeah, you do.
And back to the course with the live action. There's part of about
I
6 feet
yelled
coming
out
up.
there.
Their short game has been
Why,
very
it's
impressive.
tricky.
They've kept this player inside the top 10 all day long because of it.
This was a critical point, possible failure. If we had
Oh.
That one was looking good, wasn't it?
Thought. Oh.
It was just about 3 feet away.
This was it.
That's well played. Currently in first position. And I don't give the rest of the field much hope today. Our leader is way out in front in this final round. You've reached the 11th hole, and the tee is yours.
As soon as I see Rivas entering the tower, I made a phone call.
Opting for the 9-iron. Oh, what a gorgeous looking shot that is,
Speak to
Rich.
the maintenance worker, please.
Oh.
This dialed in. What a shot.
He's on his way.
Beauty.
A wonderful shot. And a chance for birdie here on the 11th. This putt of about 7 feet to the hole.
see it.
Just left. Fair effort, that. Good birdie. And stayed right where they were in today's rankings after that. And I don't know if the rest of the field is up for catching them here today in this final round of action. Arrived at a par 4.
We had a little code word, maximum, maximize, any combination with the word max.
Yeah, okay.
Good looking shot, this.
Okay, Max. Maximum.
Second shot here on the 12th.
Either you show me how to open the picket door,
Oh. Oh, lovely.
That's a good goal.
Great shot.
Let's have a look at Bryson DeChambeau from earlier.
Third shot now.
Murphy comes out, he's in an officer's gear. It's just a ploy, the kitchen, and the laundry were facing the back gate.
Absolute peach. Well played. Okay, let's get back to the action.
So we had to keep it as a routine.
An opportunity to make a birdie.
He hollers at me. It's clear. I'll open the outer gates.
Looking good. What a performance. 8 birdies on the card.
I like it. 2 in a row. He's feeling it.
And still in top spot after that hole. Keep it going. And I don't give the rest of the field much hope today. Our leader is way out in front in this final round. Teeing off here on the 13th hole.
Driving off, it was kind of scary in a sense. Dark, narrow, small compartment with a loaded shotgun. I'm wondering, are we gonna get stopped and come out of this mile for
That dog will hunt.
This shot from around the 200-yard mark.
I talked the Lord's Prayer. I had nothing else to do. I was like, the only thing that came to my mind was the Lord's Prayer.
Looks to be going with a hybrid here.
Come on, baits up.
After I started for the second time.
Get up there. Oh, no, stop. Fuck off. Oh, that's bollocks.
And here we are with the
So
third shot.
unlucky.
Between myself and a unit in prison, I literally felt a weight coming up my shoulders. I sat up.
This one has eyes for the hole.
Oh my
You're going to be
god.
hard to catch now if you keep making putts like that.
Woo, woo, woo,
It
woo.
actually tasted differently.
Our coverage continues at the last. Getting ready to play their third.
Control power to base. Control power to base.
Wow.
Heck of a shot. Got it all right on that one.
That was wonderfully done. So, after that hole, this is what the leaderboard looks like.
We've got a possible escape. They're in the process of locking
Always
down.
positive coming off a birdie. Let's see what happens here.
As things progress, I'm driving down in that direction. More and more information's filtering in. And then we have 7 confirmed. Getting calls saying they're definitely away in a vehicle. No sense coming down here. I head over to the command center operations. If you're out there, you're gonna get caught. You can run, but you can't hide. That's the bottom line.
It is a Texas-sized manhunt. More concerned than ever
Well
before.
done.
Yeah,
Coming
we
off a
had
hat
air
trick of
searches
birdies.
going on,
That's
ground
great
searches
momentum.
going on. It was very puzzling to us how they slipped under the radar.
Lord Reeves, he is complete profile of this guy.
There's one special operations investigator
Well, this one's
assigned
right at
to
the
each
pin.
escapee.
Patrick Murphy.
Oh, beautiful.
Standing approach.
Absolutely everything there is to
Nothing gets past you.
about that
Yes,
individual.
this kid
Just the
is
small
stuck.
things that may make a difference
Well
later
done.
on, that
Take
have
the
proven
move.
to make a difference later on.
He sits in first position. And I don't know if the rest of the field is up for catching him here today in this final round of action.
Reeves' prior
And now
robberies.
teeing kicking off on this par 4 hole.
Large takedown.
Attack it and try
We
and
knew
increase
he
your
was leading
lead,
the group.
or do you lay back
These
and
people
play
are
safe?
creatures of habit.
I like to attack it. What do they like to do?
Well, this is bold.
I already had rock
Their eyes are opening up.
So I
Dang.
Green.
accepted
Too
this
hard.
so much.
Too hard. Oh, what a terrible bounce.
But
Jesus
I
Christ.
decided to start back in that
Yeah, good aggressive play and almost
Ah.
rewarded by finding the green. Second shot here
was
on the
to
15th.
get all the weapons and all the money back.
This putt just 5 feet away from the hole.
It was another day of freedom.
The interest of the auction is
It's half a chance of winning hole this one. Look at him just surging ahead at the top of the leaderboard.
Nice to have that cushion heading down the last few holes.
Still in the lead now after that hole.
3 holes remaining, folks. Hang on to your hats. This is going to be a wild and woolly finish.
Ooh, I always love these holes. Here we have a par 3.
Gets hurt. Let's do it.
Opting for the 5 iron. Yeah, that one's looking
The
good.
store was closing at 6 p.m.
Down, down, down.
I went straight into the shoe department, found me some help and used the clothing.
Well, that's right out of the top drawer. A great shot from our leader.
I tell you, you just dream about days like today. Greens and regulations, spot on all day.
At
Awesome.
5:45, Revis and Harper walk in.
Hey there.
What can I help you with?
I just like to run these names by you.
It's tracking.
See if any of these kids come into your store.
Yes!
Keep surging ahead.
Employees to the front to listen to like these grab and run suspects.
Beautiful.
He's currently sitting in first place.
2 holes to go, Luke. Can they hang on? Let's find out.
Welcome to this
Alright,
hole.
you guys should
It's a
take a
par
good
4.
look at these faces. Make sure you remember them.
I was ready to go.
Georgetown.
That was absolutely murdered.
Be calm and no one gets hurt.
We're just gonna take the money and then take some goods.
We're gonna be on our way. No problems, right?
Beauty. Beautiful.
Setting up here, coming off a run of birdies.
Absolutely. It's been a good streak late in the round.
Guys, we're outside taking the merchandise. Quicker. Revis was with the manager.
What a wonderful
Nice.
shot to the 17th.
Beautiful.
Another putt inside
Great
the
shot.
lead. This putt
Over there.
8 feet.
Contents of safe $70,000.
Revis took the manager's car keys, and as he was going out to the front, that's when one of the customers' girlfriend had saw George. She kind of got a little freaked because he was dressed up like one of the security
Is that the
guys, and he had the pistol.
Yes.
And that will drop in for birdie.
She had never seen this before. So when George
So no
came up
change
to
on the
her,
leaderboard for this player after that hole. And I don't give the rest of the field much hope today. Our leader is way out in front in this final round. And a chance to ice the tournament here, holding the lead, playing the last.
Oh, yeah, for God's sake.
This looks to be a fairway seeker to be. Time for the second shot on the 18.
Don't look at me! Look at the floor!
Going with the 9 iron, I think. Should find the green here.
George, I was like, hey, what's going on? He goes,
Yeah, it's time to go. Yeah.
Well, that certainly makes playing a lot easier when you can hit a shot like that.
get out.
Look at the floor, boys!
It's time to go.
This putt for the tournament.
And when the door, that's when I hear
Stroke.
Yes.
So the famous victory throughout the course of at least the last decade. This one will go down as yet another. Congratulations to our Travelers Championship.
Yes, battle hard. There gutted it out better than anybody else. What a finish. Happy for him. Congratulations. Well deserved win.
Well, Rich, after that hot start, it's probably little surprise that this player powered through to victory.
Luke, it's always fun to see a player when they are in full flight as they were this week. It was a blast to watch. Unbelievable job all around.
I'm Luke Elvey, alongside Rich B, and on behalf of all the hard-working folks at HD Studios, it's goodbye for now.
Got blood on his head. And just felt pain seemed like coming from everywhere below my neck.
As much planning as we put through, I just can't believe it. You know, it just got out of hand like that. We just left the officer who was, I just knew he was dead. I knew he was dead. It was just 2 gunshots.